The other story out today just happened a moment ago, and this has to do with Alina Habba in New Jersey. She has stepped down. What's going on?
Alina Habba was ruled by the Third Circuit earlier this month as having been unlawfully appointed to be the U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey.
Donald Trump is absolutely losing it right now as his hand-picked loyalists are resigning left and right because federal courts said their appointments were illegal. And I mean, this is happening fast. Alina Habba, Trump's former lawyer, his pick for U.S. Attorney in New Jersey, she resigned on December 8th. Then just 4 days later, Julianne Murray, the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, she quit too. Same reason. The court said their appointments were unlawful. They weren't properly confirmed by the Senate. They were interim appointments that the Trump administration extended illegally without following proper procedures. So now they're gone. And Trump is absolutely furious about this because this isn't just about 2 resignations. This is about the entire structure of his DOJ falling apart. This is about his whole strategy for controlling the Justice Department crumbling before his eyes. The Third Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the Trump administration extended interim U.S. attorney positions without Senate confirmation. That's illegal. You can't just keep extending somebody's interim appointment indefinitely. There are rules about this. There are laws, and the court said, no, that ends now. These people have to go. But real quick, before we get into this, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built John Brown's show to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, please subscribe because you might think you are but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. All right, let's get into what actually happened. Here's what you need to understand. The law says you can have an interim appointment for a limited time, but then you have to get Senate confirmation or you have to appoint someone else through the proper process. Trump's administration just kept extending these interim terms over and over again without getting Senate confirmation. They just kept pushing the deadline back, kept saying, okay, one more extension, just kept doing it without following the law. So the court said, no, that ends now. These people have to go. And Habba was Trump's lawyer. She was one of his legal advisors. She was involved in cases involving classified documents. She was involved in civil suits. She was protecting Trump's interests in court. And Trump just put her in charge of the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey. That's a massive position. That's control over federal prosecutions in one of the biggest states in the country. That's enormous power. And now the courts are saying that appointment was illegal. You have to step down. You can't stay in that position because you were never properly confirmed. Now let me bring the receipts on why this matters so much. The U.S. Attorney for a state like New Jersey is a huge position. This isn't some mid-level bureaucratic job. This person oversees federal prosecutions in New Jersey. They have authority over investigations, over cases, over prosecutions of all kinds of federal crimes. It's one of the most powerful positions in federal law enforcement in that state. And Trump gave it to his lawyer without going through the normal process. He didn't get Senate confirmation. He just made her an interim appointment. That means she was temporarily in the job pending Senate confirmation, which is supposed to be a short-term thing. But then when that interim appointment was supposed to expire, instead of getting her confirmed by the Senate or appointing someone else through the normal legal process, Trump's administration just extended her interim appointment. They did this over and over and over. Extended it multiple times without Senate confirmation, without going through the normal process, without following the law. Just kept pushing back the expiration date. Think about why Trump would do this. The Senate confirmation process is annoying if you're trying to put loyalists in positions. Senators ask questions, senators investigate, senators might oppose your pick if they think the person isn't qualified or if they think there's a conflict of interest. It's a pain, it takes time, it's unpredictable. So Trump was trying to work around that by just keeping people in interim positions indefinitely. The idea was probably, well, if we just keep extending the interim appointment, eventually people will just accept it. Eventually, she'll just be the permanent U.S. attorney, even though she never got confirmed by the Senate. But that's not how the law works. The law has limits on how long you can keep someone in an interim position without Senate confirmation. Those limits exist for a reason. They exist to make sure that powerful positions in government are actually accountable to the Senate. They exist to make sure that Congress has a say in who holds these positions. They exist to maintain the separation of powers. Share this video with everyone you know, because here's what the Third Circuit Court of Appeals said. No, Trump, you've exceeded those limits. This appointment is unlawful. You can't do this. She has to resign. The court was very clear about this, so Haba resigned on December 8th. She put out a statement saying she was resigning to protect the stability and integrity of the office. Those were her exact words. But that's just her being gracious about it. That's her taking the dignified exit. The reality is she was forced out. Her appointment was deemed unlawful by a federal appeals court. The court said it was illegal. She had no choice but to resign. If she had tried to stay, she would have been in legal limbo. There would have been questions about whether she could even do her job, whether her prosecutions would be valid, whether her decisions would be enforceable. It would have been a disaster. So she took the exit and resigned. And then 4 days later, Julianne Murray in Delaware saw what happened to Haba and realized she was in the exact same boat. Murray was also an interim U.S. attorney. Her appointment was also extended multiple times without Senate confirmation. The Trump administration had done the same thing with her that they did with Haba, extended her interim appointment over and over. And she realized that if Haba's appointment was unlawful, so was hers. The same legal principles would apply. The same court ruling would affect her. So she quit too on December 12th, citing the same Haba ruling, saying that the ruling clarified her own situation and made it clear her appointment was invalid. She couldn't stay in the position anymore. Notice what's happening here. This is a cascade. One resignation triggers another, because the same legal problems apply across the board. The same unlawful extension of interim appointments, the same violation of Senate confirmation requirements, the same unconstitutional workaround that Trump tried to use. Now here's where this gets really bad for Trump. Really bad. It's not just 2 resignations. These are just the ones who went quietly and accepted the court's decision. The DOJ is probably going to have to deal with this across the board. There are reports of other interim U.S. attorneys appointed by Trump in similar situations. People in California, Halligan in Virginia, all of them probably made through interim appointments that were extended beyond their legal limit. All of them probably vulnerable to the same kind of court challenge that took down Haba and Murray. All of them probably sitting there right now wondering if their appointments are going to be challenged next. All of them probably uncertain about their job security. And if the Third Circuit ruling applies nationwide, and legal experts think it might, then all of those appointments could be deemed unlawful too. That means potentially multiple U.S. attorneys having to resign. That means the entire structure of Trump's loyalist DOJ is at risk. That means the whole strategy he had for controlling the Justice Department through these interim appointments is falling apart. Make sure you're subscribed to John Brown Show, because here's what this means operationally. U.S. attorneys run federal prosecutions. They're in charge of federal criminal cases. They're in charge of investigating federal crimes. They're in charge of prosecuting people and holding them accountable. If you're Trump and you want to go after your political enemies, if you want to investigate your opponents, if you want to prosecute people you see as threats, you need loyal U.S. attorneys to do that. You need people in those positions who will do what you want, who will prioritize your interests. But now those positions are becoming unstable. Now there's legal uncertainty about whether these people can even stay in their jobs. Now judges are stepping in and saying, no, these appointments are illegal. These people have to go. That's a huge problem for Trump's strategy. That's a huge problem for his ability to control the Justice Department. And there's not a whole lot he can do about it except appeal the court rulings and hope for a different outcome. Think about what Trump's plan was. He came into office with a strategy. Put loyalists in key positions. Not people based on merit or experience or their legal qualifications. Not people who were the most qualified for the job, but people who were loyal to Trump specifically. People who would do what Trump wanted. People who would go after Trump's enemies and protect Trump's allies. That was the strategy. It was systematic, it was intentional, and it was working for a while. Nobody was really stopping him. He was able to put people in positions without getting them confirmed. But now the courts are stepping in and saying, you can't do this. There are rules. You have to follow the law. You can't just put whoever you want in these positions without proper confirmation. You can't extend interim appointments indefinitely. There are limits, and Trump is realizing that his entire DOJ strategy is built on a foundation that the courts won't accept. Share this with everyone, because here's the pattern we're seeing. This is exactly like what we just saw with the CFPB case. Trump tries to do something aggressive. He tries to push the boundaries. He tries to bend the rules. He tries to work around the law, and judges step in and say, no, this is happening over and over. The CFPB ruling where the judge blocked the attempt to shut down the agency. Now this DOJ ruling where judges are blocking unlawful interim appointments. It's a pattern of courts saying Trump can't just do whatever he wants. He has to follow the law. He has to get Senate confirmation. He can't extend interim appointments indefinitely without following proper procedures. He can't just destroy agencies because he doesn't like them. There are rules, there are limits, there are constitutional boundaries, and judges are enforcing those limits. Now, let me walk you through what Attorney General Pam Bondi is saying about all this. Bondi is vowing to fight. She's saying the Trump administration is going to appeal these rulings. She's putting on a brave face and saying, don't worry, we're going to win this. But that takes time. That goes through the courts. That could take months or even years. That's a long process. In the meantime, these positions are becoming vacant. These resignations are happening right now. The DOJ is destabilizing right now. Institutional knowledge is walking out the door right now. And Trump is losing control of one of the key institutions he was trying to dominate. The Justice Department is supposed to be where Trump consolidates power. It's supposed to be where he puts his loyalists. It's supposed to be where he gets his political enemies investigated and prosecuted. But instead, the courts are enforcing limits on how he can staff it. And that's undercutting his entire strategy. That's preventing him from doing what he wanted to do. Notice what this connects to. This is part of a larger DOJ exodus that's crippling the agency and making it dysfunctional. We're not just talking about Haba and Murray. There's been a massive wave of resignations and firings. Throughout the DOJ in 2025, we're talking about nearly 3,000 attorneys who have quit or been fired. 3,000. That's an enormous number. That's basically the entire DOJ in chaos. You can't replace 3,000 experienced attorneys overnight. You can't just bring in 3,000 new people and expect them to do the job at the same level. These are lawyers with years of experience. They know how the system works. They know how to prosecute cases. They know how to defend the government. They're irreplaceable in the short term. So the DOJ is severely crippled. It can't prosecute cases effectively. It can't defend the government's positions in court. It's a mess. And now on top of that, you've got these interim U.S. attorneys having to resign because their appointments are unlawful. So the situation is getting even worse. Think about the political implications for 2026. The midterm elections are coming up, and Republicans are supposed to be the party of law and order, right? They're the ones who talk about prosecutions and crimes and going after criminal activity. They're the ones who say they're tough on crime. But what's happening here? Trump's DOJ is falling apart. Trump is trying to stuff it with loyalists. Judges are stepping in and stopping him. The agency is completely destabilized. That's not a great look for a party that's supposed to be about law and order. That's undermining the entire message. Democrats are going to hammer this relentlessly. They're going to say, look, Trump is trying to use the Justice Department for political purposes. Trump is trying to pack it with loyalists. Trump is breaking the law to do it, and judges are stepping in to stop him. Trump wants a justice system that serves him, not justice that serves the law. That's powerful messaging. That's messaging that resonates with people. Share this video because here's what the resignations reveal about Trump's inner circle. These aren't random bureaucrats. These are people Trump personally selected, people he trusted, people he brought in specifically because they were loyal to him. Haba was his lawyer. She represented him in court. She protected his interests. She was part of his inner circle. And now she's gone, forced out by a court ruling. That's got to sting. That's got to make Trump question who he can actually trust, who he can actually keep in positions of power. Because if the courts can force out his own lawyer, if they can force out people he personally selected, then who's safe? Who can he actually rely on? That creates paranoia. That creates instability. That makes Trump even more isolated and desperate. Now let me bring the receipts on what Haba said when she resigned. She said she wanted to protect the stability and integrity of the office. She said she loved the office and wanted to make sure it continued to function properly. But let's be real about what's happening here. She didn't resign because she suddenly got concerned about the rules. She didn't resign because she woke up and thought, you know what, I should probably follow the law. She resigned because she was forced to. The court said her appointment was unlawful, so she had to go. She had no choice. She could have fought it, but that would have been a legal nightmare. It would have been chaos. So she took the dignified exit and resigned. But make no mistake, this wasn't voluntary, this was forced, this was the courts pushing out Trump's loyalist. Think about what Trump is facing right now. His entire second-term strategy is running into judicial resistance at every turn. Every single direction he tries to move in, judges are stepping in and saying no. He tried to destroy the CFPB. Judges said no. He tried to pack the DOJ with loyalists through illegal interim appointments. Judges said no. He's tried to reshape institutions according to his will. Judges keep blocking him. That's a massive problem for his administration because that was his plan. That was how he was going to consolidate power. That was how he was going to control the government, and it's not working. The courts keep enforcing the law, keep putting up boundaries, keep saying, no, you can't do that. And Trump is realizing he doesn't have as much power as he thought he did. Now here's what's coming next. Because this story is far from over. Trump is probably going to try to work around these court rulings. He's probably going to try to find new ways to put loyalists in DOJ positions. He might try recess appointments if Congress will let him. He might try to interpret the law in ways that allow him to keep interim appointments longer. He's going to fight. He's going to appeal these court rulings. He's going to push back hard because this is core to his strategy. But in the meantime, the DOJ is unstable. Positions are vacant. Experience is bleeding out, and the agency is becoming less and less functional. That's going to have real consequences for how the government operates. That's going to affect prosecutions. That's going to affect law enforcement. That's going to affect everything about federal criminal justice. Notice what this reveals about the rule of law. This isn't about partisan courts or judges with political agendas. This is just about judges enforcing the law and doing their job. The law says interim appointments have limits. The law says you need Senate confirmation for certain positions. The law says agencies have independent structures that can't just be dismantled at will. These aren't controversial legal positions. These are established principles of law. These are basic constitutional principles, and judges across the political spectrum are enforcing them. So Trump is hitting a wall, and that wall is the rule of law, and the rule of law is actually working in this case. Judges are doing their job. They're enforcing the law. They're putting limits on executive power, and that's what's supposed to happen in a democracy. The bottom line is this. Trump loses it as his inner circle turns against him with hand-picked loyalists resigning because federal courts ruled their appointments were illegal, and his entire DOJ strategy is collapsing. Alina Habba, Trump's former lawyer and pick for U.S. Attorney in New Jersey, resigned December 8th after the Third Circuit Court of Appeals ruled her appointment unlawful. She was never properly confirmed by the Senate. Her interim appointment was extended illegally multiple times without following proper procedures. 4 days later, Julianne Murray, the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, quit for the same reason, citing the same court ruling, same legal problems, same unlawful extensions. The Third Circuit ruled Trump's administration extended interim U.S. attorney positions without Senate confirmation. That's illegal. You can't keep extending interim appointments indefinitely. There are limits. There are laws. Courts are enforcing them. Habba was Trump's lawyer, involved in classified documents cases, civil suits, protecting Trump's interests. Trump put her in charge of federal prosecutions in New Jersey. Massive position, enormous power, without Senate confirmation, just interim appointment extended over and over. Court said no, unlawful. She had to resign. Murray saw this and realized she was in same boat. Same unlawful extension, same violation. Resigned December 12th. This isn't just 2 resignations. Other interim U.S. attorneys in similar situations. California, Virginia, all vulnerable to same court challenge, all potentially having to resign. If Third Circuit ruling applies nationwide, multiple U.S. attorneys could be deemed unlawful. Entire structure of Trump's loyalist DOJ at risk. Strategy for controlling Justice Department through interim appointments falling apart. This connects to larger DOJ exodus. Nearly 3,000 attorneys quit or fired in 2025. Enormous number. Agency crippled. Can't prosecute effectively. Can't defend government positions. Now interim U.S. attorneys resigning too. Situation getting worse. Instability growing. Trump's plan was put loyalists in key positions, not based on merit or qualifications, based on loyalty to Trump, people who would do what he wanted, go after enemies, protect allies, systematic, intentional, working for a while, but now court stepping in, saying you can't do this, have to follow law, have to get Senate confirmation, can't extend interim appointments indefinitely. Limits exist, courts enforcing them, pattern emerging, like CFPB case. Trump tries aggressive moves, judges say no, happening repeatedly. Courts blocking unlawful appointments, blocking agency destruction, enforcing constitutional boundaries. Trump's second-term strategy running into judicial resistance at every turn. Bondi vowing to appeal, fight back, but takes time, months or years. Meanwhile, positions vacant, resignations happening now, DOJ destabilizing, institutional knowledge leaving, Trump losing control of key institution he wanted to dominate. Political implications for 2026 massive. Republicans supposed to be law and order party, but Trump's DOJ falling apart, stuffed with loyalists, judges stopping it, agency destabilized, not good look. Democrats will hammer this. Say Trump using Justice Department politically, packing with loyalists, breaking law, judges stopping him, powerful messaging, affects how people vote. These aren't random bureaucrats. These are Trump's personally selected people, his inner circle. Haba was his lawyer, represented him, protected him, now gone, forced out by courts, makes Trump question who he can trust, who's safe, creates paranoia, isolation, desperation. Haba said she resigned to protect office integrity, but reality she was forced out. Court said appointment unlawful. No choice, not voluntary, forced. Courts pushing out Trump's loyalists. Trump's entire strategy hitting judicial resistance. Tried to destroy CFPB, blocked. Tried to pack DOJ illegally, blocked. Tried to reshape institutions, blocked. Courts enforcing law, putting boundaries, saying no. Trump realizing he doesn't have power he thought. Rule of law working. Judges doing their job. Enforcing law, not partisan. Just constitutional principles. Interim appointments have limits. Need Senate confirmation. Can't be extended indefinitely. Established law. Judges enforcing it. Trump hitting wall. Wall is rule of law. And it's working. This is Trump losing it. Inner circle turning against him. Not by choice, by force. Courts ruling appointments illegal. Loyalists resigning. DOJ strategy collapsing. Entire plan for controlling Justice Department falling apart. And Trump can't stop it. Can only appeal, can only fight, but damage is done. Positions vacant, agency unstable, power slipping away. This story continues. Stay tuned.